Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Keeping It Real on Purpose, and I am your host, Edna White. And I'm so glad that you're with us today because you could be anywhere else, but you're here with us today. Today, we have a special guest, and her name is Kirstin Carey. Did I say that right?
Kirstin, but I answered anything
Kirsten?
first.
Okay,
So
I
yeah,
can get it
Kirstin.
right. Kirsten Carey? I can get
Yep.
it right. I love it. Okay. Kirstin Carey is a now you got to help me, neuroresilience
Yeah,
specialist.
it's a lot of letters in one word. Yeah.
Pow,
Neuroresilience.
pow,
Yeah.
pow. Who's not only built multiple 6 and 7 figure businesses, but also has navigated the challenges of autoimmune conditions and burnout. Now, with over 30 years of experience, Kirstin helps high achievers master the art of sales, resilience, and balance. In this powerful episode with Keeping It Real on Purpose, we're hoping that Kirstin's going to reveal a lot of stuff to us. Why selling doesn't have to feel so hard and how to create sustainable success without sacrificing your health. She'll share her journey to overcoming burnout and building businesses that thrive without compromising well being. Whether you're in sales or simply seeking better work life balance, this is the place to be for the game changer for anyone striving to succeed without burnout. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Edna.
You're so welcome. So, how do you show up in the world?
Wow, that is a question. I think I show up in the world as authentically as I know how to. That's something I feel like I've been working on for decades.
Yeah,
And just showing up whether people like it or not, but not showing up, down their throat, but just showing up curious and
yeah,
authentic. And I really want to just learn about people, which is really
yeah,
all sales is.
yeah. I want to tell you that curious popped up in three times today, and you are the third person with curiosity. So that must be for me or somebody out in the audience. Curiosity, take that word, curiosity.
Mm,
It's important. So, and she's relating it to sales. So I love that,
mhm.
Kirsten. I really love that you're relating it to sales because I have 20 years of real estate. So I know
Mm,
what sales is all about.
yeah, you do.
So yes. So
Real
you've
estate's
built
no joke.
multiple. I'm sorry, say it again. I'm sorry.
Real estate is no joke. Like,
No.
yeah,
And
you're not
especially now, right? Right.
yeah, especially now. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've built 6 and 7 figure businesses while
I have.
managing autoimmune conditions. What did burnout teach you about success and how did you start redefining it on your own terms?
Oh, that's a great question. I was one of those kids, like out of the gate in college. I had already started my first, company in my
Uh-huh.
dorm room. I interned with a woman who was a well-known, very high-paid speaker at the time. She was all over the world speaking on stages and platforms. And frankly, I was kind of like too young and too stupid to know that I shouldn't have been starting some of the stuff the way that I did. And I got some really good mentors right out of the gate. So I was
Yeah.
charging high figures, high ticket before I knew what high ticket was. I was
Mhm.
doing teleseminars before anybody knew what that was. And this is back in
Okay.
the early 90s, right? Where you had
Wow.
to call
Yes.
into an 800 number to get on the call you
Yes, the
wanted to
old
get the
800 number
teleseminar.
everybody dials in.
And I was charging people to come to the event, and I just kept going with that, not realizing,
Mhm,
I was 23 years old and who the hell did I think I was?
right.
But I got hired right out of the gate for high
Yeah,
companies like Verizon and
uh-huh,
UPS and some of the big name guys where I was speaking and helping their high execs be more effective at sales and marketing and presenting because that's
mhm,
what my degree was in and that's who I'd been trained by and I was doing great. I was traveling all over the all over the United States. I went to Mexico and Canada too, so all over the world.
right,
But I stayed, I stayed over here on this continent. But I, I started getting really tired, and I started
okay,
gaining a ton of weight. And I
right,
didn't realize how sick I was until now. I can look back and see it. But
mhm,
I went through conventional medicine, and they're just giving me some drugs and they're telling me it's your hormones and it'll be fine, it'll work
yeah,
itself out, you're working so hard. But I
of
didn't
course,
realize how hard I was working because I was so used to being the girl who worked hard.
Right.
I grew up in a very stereotypical Irish Catholic family where if things didn't feel hard, you were doing something wrong. So I just kept going. And then my body was in straight burnout. Nobody had
Wow.
mentioned that term. And when you're in your 30s, you're not thinking burnout.
Right. Of
But
course.
I like crushed my adrenals and I wasn't doing good
Wow.
digestively and I was gaining a ton of weight and I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
So after years of still trying to figure it out, I woke up in a hotel room because I was traveling for a client and I didn't know where I was. I was confused. I was terrified because all of the things were falling apart. So
Wow.
I got a diagnosis. Finally, I ended up starting to do some more natural medicine and I got a diagnosis for celiac disease and then
Yep,
later
that was me.
Hashimoto's. Yeah. Welcome to the team, lady.
There you go. There
And
you go.
I like to name them because so many people, especially with Hashimoto's and celiac, were two of the more common ones. People don't realize how bad it is. Your immune system's in a train wreck situation when you finally get to a diagnosis that way. So I went back to school because, God forbid I not try and figure the solution out on my own. I went back to school for nutrition and health and reversing out of conditions and healing.
Yeah.
And I decided to open 3 restaurants at the time. I don't know why I thought that would be a brilliant idea.
Your burnout was still acting up.
Bring it. Yeah. So like my Philly got up in me and I was like, I need more hard stuff. So I opened up 3 restaurants. They were the first ones in Arizona that were gluten-free exclusively. Right. So I learned a ton about having to slow down and to build at the same time. And I was able to reverse out of both autoimmune conditions. I don't have the symptoms anymore. If you saw my labs, you would never think I had any of these issues. But then I built a 7-figure company on top of that to help other people reverse their autoimmune conditions. And what I learned the most was that you could eat the right things. And I'm all about the nutrition. I've got thousands of hours behind me on that. But you can eat all the right things, you can do all the right things, but if you're not working on what your body sees as stress, mental or emotional or physical, you're not getting up over on the conversation your body's trying to have with you through that illness.
That's true, Kirstin. I'm telling you. I can truly tell you that I did what you did. I was driving around like, what the heck am I going? And I just pulled over and started crying. I can't remember. I thought I was literally having early stage dementia. Like,
you think you're crazy.
Going? I had no idea. I called my friend. I'm dialing. Am I supposed to be at your house? She goes, what's the matter? I said, I don't know where I'm going. I'm crying. She's like, okay, calm down. When you got in your car, where were you coming from? I said, coming from home. I literally couldn't remember where I was headed. And again, like you did, I went to the doctors and I went to a specialist that dealt with holistic medications, medicine. And I went to him. He was a regular doctor as well, but he, his specialty was. And so he says, no, she said, not he. She said, what did you have? What is your eating habit? That's the first thing she went to, right? And I was like, what is your job? And I was like, what does that got to do with I'm forgetting stuff? And lo and behold, dwindled down, had the gluten intolerance, all of that. But it got worse over years because I started to become allergic to everything. Not realizing it was stress. Realizing it was stress. And then my doctor says, you have too much on your plate.
And most people I don't think we appreciate what stress really means. It just means physical, mental, or emotional. It doesn't matter how it's coming at you. Your body sees that it's under attack. And whether you're taking on too much emotionally, you're not saying no, you're not setting boundaries, you're eating the wrong things. All of that is a stressful situation for your system. So
when I felt
sorry, go ahead.
When I felt that, sis, I was like, yo, I got to start getting rid of friends. I got to start getting rid of stuff. I got to get rid of stuff in the house. I was doing like a deep dive clean because I was like, this stuff really is serious. Stress is not linear, ladies and gentlemen. No. It's not. It's serious and it will affect you like none other. I couldn't believe my hair was falling out. It was bad. It was really bad.
And they'll be like, it's just hormones, it's just stress. I'm like, regardless, it's still
There's no
happening.
just.
So what do we do? There is no just, right? So you have to start understanding yourself
Yes.
too, and that this isn't
Yes.
a little message at that point. Your body had been whispering to you the whole time, telling you
Yes.
something was wrong. And now this is the 2x4 to the back of the head because you weren't hearing the whispers.
Yes. And that's exactly right. You said it right, the 2x4. And
Yeah.
I really, and the other thing was, I was meditating. I had started meditating. I think I'm in my 10th year of meditation. I was meditating
Fabulous.
and I thought I was doing something good, but I was on autopilot. Do you know what I mean? Like I did it, but I wasn't stopping, and when I had started this new job, I was like, just moving. And then I'm volunteering. I got 2 big roles, executive chairs, and I'm volunteering there and I'm volunteering here and I'm over here. And no. And I'm taking care of everybody, by the way, on top of that.
Oh, of course you are, because you think that that's normal, because you probably grew up thinking that was normal. And if it didn't feel hard, then if something was wrong. And I had one of the doctors say to me, what's your stress level look like? And I'm like, it's no more than usual. And he took that as a perfectly acceptable answer. And I thought that was a perfectly acceptable answer. I had been doing it all this time. Why would it break now? Like, because you can only handle so much. The cup gets filled with all of this stuff and you have no resources left to manage it. There's just one day it breaks.
Yeah.
So
that's
when we
true.
get these diagnoses, it's because we've been in it for most of the time. It takes 4 to 10 years for a diagnosis like that to be even found. So you have to be so bad.
I was really bad. I was, I went unconscious. I didn't know what happened. I was like, I thought because I had just came from China. So I thought something was wrong. I got a virus that was delayed. I don't know. I just was thinking all these crazy things. It was total stress.
Yes. And so you have to learn how to undo what your body thought was normal, which is also a panic attack within itself.
Yeah.
Because the body doesn't like doing something that's not our normal pattern, which is why we fight so hard to end up back where we started.
Right.
So some people feel great for a couple of weeks because they do some new diet or they go hire a trainer or they do some magic thing. And then like 8 or 9 or 12 weeks later, they're back where they started. Because they're white knuckling through the change that they're going to do that's going to make them less stressful. And then you're in a worse place where you started. You need to know how to do it on all levels.
So true.
So it's interesting. I ended up back in sales and marketing. I sold the restaurants off and I moved through the online program that we had to help people reverse out of their conditions because I really love business. I didn't get into being a nutritionist because I wanted to be. It was
he's trying to get right.
I just had to find out. And when I found out the solutions, I was like, everyone needs to know this. So of course, as a business owner at heart, I had to build a company doing that. So, when you go back and I start looking at working with the sales teams that I work with and the business owners that I work with, so many of my clients that were in distress were business owners. There were a lot of women who took on too much. They don't know how to say no. We don't know how to set boundaries as a general group. Like when we're not taught to do that either, because we don't want to be not nice and we don't want to be a bitch and we don't want to be all the things we get called, right?
Associated with that. You want to stay away from that word.
So we're just like, hey, over here, but how do I be authentic at the same time? How do I stay true to who I am? How do I get clarity around what it is that I need? How do I be curious about that and not blame myself for getting myself here in the first place? So it's interesting. I'm, back in the world of sales and marketing, and they're the ones who burn out really quickly in companies too.
Absolutely.
So I pull some of that into helping business owners make more money, pocket more money, gain more of the ideal client, not just the client who has a credit card out.
Right.
And how do you do that authentically without feeling like all throwy marketing and shove it down their throat, make them say yes kind of sales? That's not good for anybody.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. Kirstin, makes a lot of sense. So you specialize in neuroresilience. Can you break down what that means and how it helps high achievers create sustainable performance without the crash?
Yeah. So if you think about resilience, most of us actually use the word the wrong way. We think resilience is getting beaten up and coming back hardcore, and all movies that teach us we're supposed to get beat down before we come back. I'm like, no, resilience is still the ability to come back when we've been challenged,
Yeah.
not when we've been beaten down, right?
Oh,
Like
that's good.
we want to keep going up against challenge. We want to actually work our muscles emotionally,
Right.
mentally, and physically so that we build the strength to
Right.
manage the little things and to also hear the whispers before they become the 2x4 so
Right.
that we know how to pivot and change before it becomes the 2x4. So the resilience is also
Mhm.
the awareness build. We're smarter, we're more aware, we
Right.
see it coming. We don't just push through for the sake of pushing through. So it's not just
Right.
we can handle the beat down and then keep coming.
Mhm. Right.
Oh, I see the beat down coming. Let me adjust so that I don't have to go all the way down to the bottom to come back up.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
it's both of that. And that's really the mental toughness, the mental awareness, and the
Mhm.
emotional strength, as well
Yeah.
as the physical strength. So we have to come at it from all three sides to
Yeah.
come at it for more of a complete solution to who we
Yeah.
are.
That's excellent.
So
Oh, I
it doesn't
love that
matter
you
whether you're
broke down
selling
that.
or at anything, it's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
love how you broke down resilience. Thank you. I want you to say it
You're
again
welcome.
because I think that's like, I want to hashtag that somehow because I think that's so important that it's not about being beaten up and then
Mhm.
coming back, but it's having the awareness before you get beat down with that, you know, say that again. Just explain
Yeah.
that resilience
It's
part.
the strength in the awareness, it's the knowing, it's the trusting our own instinct that
Hmm.
we're going too far. We've
Yes.
gone past the threshold of where it's okay
Right.
for us. So if we took it into a different light, like if you're gonna go into the gym and you wanna start building muscle, you don't go up to the heaviest weight in the gym and pick it up the second you walk in the gym. You start with the lower weights and you move yourself up slowly because you don't want to injure yourself. You don't want to
Right.
cause more problem than you already have. But you also build resilience intentionally with purpose to build
Right.
that up. If you think about that now beyond just the gym and you think about it from a mental and emotional awareness and toughness
Hmm.
as well, we want to start bringing awareness to when our body has said, hey, we've gone too far. We are
Right.
taking on too much. We have said yes too many times. Or frankly, we're not saying yes enough to ourselves.
Right.
And so the resilience is the ability to bounce back more easily with fewer resources to help us bounce and be more aware and to build more strength and to purposely put growth opportunities in front of us, not just like get 2x4'd to the back of the head. So we have more of a connection to the awareness. It's like hearing a noise or a sound that
Hmm.
you didn't know was there before. Once you become in
Right.
tune to it, you hear it more and you're more aware of it. It's the same thing. It's getting that subtlety of the whispers that the body and your intuition is telling
Right.
you so that that gets
Right.
stronger.
Right. And as you're saying this again, I'm going to tell you, I was at this position that I knew how to do with my eyes closed, and I enjoyed it. It was like it encompassed all of me. But what happened was the people in the workspace were toxic. Like they just
Mhm.
didn't have the, I want to say, the awareness. They weren't nice people. They just weren't nice people.
It's a bad
That's all I can
culture.
say. They weren't
Yeah.
healed. They weren't willing to heal or
Yeah.
evolved folks. And it was getting to me, and I said, "Oh, I can master this." Wrong thing. Don't ever say that, guys. Don't ever say that. Um, I could master it. I could, all my great energies going. Oh goodness, it wore me down,
Yeah.
and I started getting migraines. I've never had a migraine in my life,
They're
and I
debilitating.
always say a migraine is going against the grain, right?
100%.
And I
Yeah.
always say that you're doing something that's going against the grain, something that doesn't line up with you. And I was trying to change them or make them conform to me because they were just not nice people. Not didn't work. Went to the doctors, and the doctor's like, as long as I've known you, Edna, I know I shouldn't be saying this. It's time to go.
Mhm.
But I knew something was off. I will say to you that I knew something was off. I said, I got to go to the
Knew it.
doctors because something's off.
Yeah.
And I
Knew
heard
it.
the intuition right away. I said, gotta go. And this is how quick it happens, ladies and gentlemen. It literally headache, sleep. I was taking naps. Didn't want to do anything. I was like, wait, I'm not like this in general. What's wrong with
Mhm.
me? I thought it was coming down with something. Yeah, I came down with something. I had to get out of something. So what Kirsten is really saying is so important and it's real.
It is
It's real.
100% real. And when people are like, oh, it's what you're saying, it's all in my head. I'm like, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's showing up in your body. But you're
Yes.
ignoring that. So your body's coming back to you harder because it wants you to pay attention. It's
Right.
like a little kid who's screaming for your attention. The more you ignore, the louder the scream gets.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to keep going because your body loves you and it wants you to be healed and it wants you to be well, but
Yes.
it's going to keep coming for you if you keep
Mm-hmm.
ignoring it. And
Yep.
we're so used to, a lot of us, white knuckling it through situations because we're used to that chaos or that energy or that push energy, or we grew up in situations that weren't balanced. We had alcoholic parents, whatever the underlying
Whatever it
trauma
was.
is, right? We all have it at some level, but when you understand how it influences your behavior, it
Yes.
does not work in your favor, then
Yes.
you have to start getting aware. And it's not our fault, however we grew up, whatever our traumas were, but it's our responsibility to start showing up as adults and do something about it, right? Because those people, I guarantee those people you're working with were dealing with all sorts of underlying trauma that no one wanted to deal with.
All of their stuff. Yeah. And they were bringing it, they were packing it up and bringing it to work too.
100%. Exactly. They were carrying it with them on their back. And then you were confronted by their stuff. And then that's when you create an environment where it's okay for that to be a thing. It's not.
Yes.
And you can't single-handedly change an environment like that.
No.
Especially if nobody wants it to change.
Exactly. Nobody wanted it, or they couldn't hear me, you know. One thing I will say that you're reminding me of is that it's so important to listen to your body. We don't do that. And I think we override it by, oh, that's just a little pain. Oh, that's, you know, we override it with, oh, that's just, you know, and then it becomes, it's bigger than the just then, you know what I mean? So we have to pay attention to our bodies, really be so very in tune with that.
Yeah, which is why medications become a really interesting challenge in all of this. And I'm not saying there's no reason for medication. So please, hopefully no misunderstanding. I say we shouldn't have some medication.
Sure. Yeah,
but we need to use them for what they were intended for. And when we use them, what they do is they squash or they quell the response the body is having that is trying to tell you something is out of balance, something is wrong. We knock that down, whether it's pain or whatever the symptom is, but we don't address what's causing the symptom. So the symptom then says, oh, well, you figured out how to try and silence me. I'm going to come at you over here. I'm going to cause this second symptoms or this fifth symptom, or I'm going to get this original symptom. It's going to be worse, which is why you see a lot of people in chronic pain because they've maxed out the ability for the medication to do what it was intended to do because the body still isn't getting the answer it needs. Right? Or you see anxiety that you can't manage with medication, or depression that's not being managed. It's not, and that's what all medication really is. It's a management system, not a solution. Right. So the body is still screaming for the attention. And again, I am not saying stop your medications. I'm saying start asking the questions, right? Yeah. Like why? Get curious. Back to where we started.
Get very curious. Here we go with the curious now. So now I'm being curious about, we're going to hop on over to sales because I'm really interested in knowing your perspective on sales. Sales can feel intimidating and sometimes is exhausting for a lot of people, right? What mindset shifts or strategies help make selling feel more natural and less draining?
Well, I mean, the first thing is I always work with either the teams that I'm in charge of or just the business owner. And I sit down and I say, what do you think your job is? What is the goal of the sales call? And typically they're like, oh, to get the credit card, to get the yes, to get the deposit. They have all these answers, right?
Right.
And here's the actual answer. Your job is simply to get curious and get clarity on whether your solution lines up with their need. And you see that being a good fit right now. That's it. It's not to get the credit card. It's not to get the deposit. It's not to do any of those things. It's to help them find clarity around what it is that they need. And do you have the solution? And do they feel that that's the right solution for them? And do you feel it's the right solution for them and for you? It's just finding clarity. Once you find clarity and you get to it's clear yes or it's a clear no, then the conversation revolves around just how do we make this happen, whether it's a no or a yes. If it's a no, then we're like, okay, is it a no for now or a no forever? cool, we've got that? Or is it a
Right.
yes? And if it's a yes, then let's get resourceful and figure out how to make it work.
Okay. Okay.
And if you go into it without I have to get a yes out of this person, because you're not supposed to
Right.
get a yes out of all of them.
Right.
Some of them are supposed to be clear no's. And
Right.
all of you who have taken on the wrong client before, you know what I'm talking about. Right? No, you've never done that, Edna, I'm sure. Never had that client where you're like, what was wrong with me for
Whew.
taking this guy? Yeah. But
Yeah, I
sometimes we
have.
make decisions based on what's going on in our bank account this week. And sometimes we make
That's right.
decisions on we want to help them so
Right. That's
much
right. That's
that
right.
we
That's right.
try and carry them over the line, and
Mhm.
that's not okay. We can't want it
Nope.
more than they do, because they won't be
Yep.
successful,
Yep.
right?
Learned that years ago. You can't want it more than they want it.
No,
Not
and
anybody.
sometimes I have to learn that lesson again, because I can see the other side of it for people,
Yeah.
because I've
Yeah.
seen it so
Yeah.
many times, and you see the fear. But sometimes them being in the fear is part of their journey, helping to hold
Right.
the mirror up and letting them see that that's what's stopping
Right.
them. It's part of our job. But really,
That's right,
honestly, the
Kirstin.
job is the clarity. Can I be here to help you get a clear yes or no? Is that okay? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And if it's a no, then we're going to be clear about that and we'll celebrate that. If it's a yes, then we're just going to figure out how to make it work. Does that work? And they're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yes. And that's honestly how I come at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've celebrated with people over their no's sometimes, because I'm like, yeah, this is not a good fit either. So let's celebrate the no.
Right.
But when we get to the yes, it's a solid yes.
Right. That's good. Do you
No
think
bite
that is tied into their whys? Into
Always.
this?
Always.
Good.
But most of them
Mhm.
don't know what their why really is.
Ah.
They know the
Yeah,
surface
that's
why.
good.
They don't understand
That's
the
good.
real driving why, like what's
Yeah.
really under the surface. And if you ask the right questions, and they all should come from that heart place centered of curiosity. I'm super curious.
Mm-hmm.
Why do
Mm-hmm.
you want this right now?
Right.
Why do you have you even on this call with me? Why is this a thing for you right now?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't get this, what happens?
Right.
And if you come at it from a place of curiosity, and not because somebody told you that was the right tactical question to ask right now,
Right.
you don't even have to be that good at sales. You just need to be sure of your product or your service,
Right.
and you need to learn how to get true curiosity.
That's true. Do you think that most people are not clear on their product?
Most people don't understand, one, who their client really is and why they're really buying. They are just like, I have this great product, so you should have it. My goal is to
Yeah.
make you say
Yeah.
yes. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
your
Mm-hmm.
goal, your understanding of your product, not
Yeah.
just be passionate about it, but understand what it does to change lives,
Yeah.
to change their situation. Can it get them from here where they are now to
Yeah.
here where they say they want to go?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You have to be the bridge. And if you don't understand how your product or service bridges them from where they are now to
Right.
where they say they
Yeah.
want to go,
Right. Yeah.
then
That's
you're
good.
going to keep getting hung up on
Yeah.
what's the next tactical question, what's the next
Yeah.
tactic, what do I have to say to convince them.
Yeah, I see that a lot, and especially, and I want to say network marketing too, as well,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh
in
my God,
sales.
yes.
Network
Yes.
marketing and sales. They don't really know the product. They don't really understand what the product can do for, others, or what it can do for them. They have never tried it.
No,
They've looked at
they're
it,
not
but they've never
using it.
tried it,
Yeah. They
and
got
they
excited
don't know
because
how
somebody
to,
else was
like you said, that
excited and they
bridge.
got sucked in. And yes.
Yes,
And they don't
yes, it's
get
the
it.
bridge. They don't have that
Yeah.
bridge there.
No.
No.
So they don't know how to maneuver through the conversation
Hmm.
organically, because they don't understand what they're really selling. And it's never the product that you're selling. It's never the service that you're selling.
Right.
Is it a match to what their needs are and what's
There you
truly
go. That's
driving
it.
them?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen also with a lot of my clients, they said, I just have the need to help people.
Yeah.
And, as soon as I hear that, the flags go up.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. Like waving
and
at
so
the red flag banner.
they'll say to me, they have this big resume. So they want to put everything into their, like their after their name. So it's Edna White, motivational speaker, author. They want to put all of this, and I ask, who are you servicing?
Yeah.
Like who? Well, I can't leave this one out. I said, well, you never. If you don't touch one, one focus, you don't affect anybody. And so from that, I'm asking the question now. That is part of their why. Does that come from that? not understanding their why because they think they're supposed to be helping somebody at all times.
Right. And my friend,
yeah,
my friend calls that the curse of the comma, where you're like, I'm this comma and this and
yes.
this and this.
That's
you
a good
can't
one.
help everyone all the time.
Yeah.
Even if you could help many different people on many different levels, what happens is a lot of people think you can't help them because the biggest thing people will ever want, we all at our core, all we want is to feel seen, heard, and understood. That's it. So if you boil it all down to somebody wants to feel special and be seen and be heard and be truly understood at a core level, if you're saying I help everyone, they're thinking they're not being seen. So if somebody came to me right now and they said, I have the solution for all of the 5'2" blue-eyed redheads to make $1 million in an hour, I'd be like, all day long, dude, I will sign up. But if he said, I have a solution for all the people everywhere to make $1 million, I'd be like, probably not, because then everybody would have the $1 million. Right. We all at our core want to be put in a bucket. We want to say, oh, there are people. I feel comfortable here. I know that guy gets me.
Yeah.
And if you don't narrow who your focus is, people think you're just, But when you say you're a specialist, I can help very specific. Like I work best with companies who have high ticket offers.
Yeah.
Could I help somebody who is selling something else? Of course. Could I work with people in MLMs? Yes. But I do my best work with people who are selling high ticket offers online, who have a $3,000 to $7,000 offer that's typically 90 days to 6 months, who typically are a woman-owned business selling to other women. That's who my market is. Does that mean I can't help a man? No. But I don't run around saying all that. But if you're a woman-owned business that's got an offer that's $3,000 to $7,000, that's like $3K or more, $300K or more, and you have an online high-ticket offer, you're probably thinking I have some special information, which I do, because I keep working with the same type of client over and over and over. So I know what happens in the marketplace. I know what's going on. Right? So if I just said I helped anyone with anything, right?
Right. You'd be tired.
So most of the sales problems go back to you don't even know what you're selling. You don't understand what you're attracting. You don't understand what you've got.
Right.
And no one wants to work with a generalist.
No.
Everyone wants to work with a specialist.
Yeah. How can entrepreneurs and leaders start to recognize when they're operating from burnout or survival mode?
Fear is running every decision you make. You are not making decisions based on what's best for your company. You're making decisions on the fear that's running through you. So you're probably making decisions based on what your bank account looks like. You're making decisions on you're afraid somebody in your key company, who's a key lead person is going to leave. You're fearful if you don't make this next sale today, you might go under. If you're making a fear, if I say this thing, I might upset people. And I don't want you coming at people, but you have to be true to what's best. Right? So if you're hanging on to employees that don't work, if you're hanging on to clients that are making your life miserable, you were probably in a burnout stage because you're in fear. If you're tired and you just don't understand why, if you're all over coffee or caffeine, if your hair is literally falling out, if you're not sleeping well, if you're sleeping and then waking up and not feeling rested, if you're getting into fights with people and arguments, if you feel frustrated by everybody all the time, they're major signs. Right. You're seeing yourself just running away from all of it. We've all been there, right? But if you're just like, I could see myself packing it all up and just taking off tomorrow and never looking back, that's a sign, right? So we have our moments as business owners. It's going to be an up and down kind of situation, but it shouldn't be high highs and low lows. Right. It's supposed to be more like you're on a wave, not on a huge swell that drops you out.
Right. What's one thing you wish every high achiever understood about balancing ambition with well-being?
That you need an outside perspective.
Ooh.
We often are we purposely kind of isolate ourselves sometimes because we feel like no one understands us.
Right.
And so what happens is it's actually a trauma response to be hyper independent. That's a sign of trauma. That is not a sign of resilience.
Right.
So when you see yourself kind of isolating to the point where no one else has an answer for you, no one else understands you, no one else can help you, you have to do it alone. How come no one ever comes to my aid? How come I can't hire the people to understand me? Like when you
Yes.
hear yourself in that space,
Yes.
there's something not okay. And you
Yeah.
need an outside perspective from someone who's curious, but someone who has the experience to hold up a mirror and help you see yourself for how you're really showing up, and then also has support to help you find the answers to get out of your own way.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's
So
good.
always having a mentor or a coach and someone who really helps you see yourself for truly who you are, as well as your brilliance, as well as where your next opportunity to grow is.
That's good.
And they're not just like, here, follow this process and that's it. It's how do you get your brilliance through without them telling you exactly what to do? Because you have the answer. You just sometimes are in a trauma response where you're in your own way.
Right. Yeah.
So there are people out there who can get you and see you for who you are and help you move through that. So when you find yourself saying, no one gets it and I don't have anybody to help me,
Yeah.
keep
There's
looking.
somebody who gets it. I'm telling
There
you.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. Kirstin, you've shared so many valuable gems and insight with us today. Thank you for pouring into this conversation with such depth and purpose. If there's one last word that you could say to the audience, what would that be?
Well, that's just one word. It would be Evolve, which is how the company name of mine showed up in the first place. Evolve. It just literally, I was on a yoga mat one day and I opened my eyes and the word Evolve was stamped on the top of the yoga mat. And I was like, oh, there's the next company. So that's how Evolve came to be. But Evolve is very much tied to resilience and growth and challenge and intensity with purpose and intention.
Yeah.
Awesome. And your brilliance is just waiting to get out.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, we thank you for that. How can we, I know how to get in touch with you. How can my audience get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me. They can go to evolveminded.com. And if they want, there's a free resource. They have to exchange their email address for the free resources because there's always an energy exchange, right? But
yes,
they can get the free resource to the 7 mistakes that are costing you high ticket sales and how to fix them. They can go to evolveminded.com. It's in the right-hand corner, or they can go to evolveminded.com/7 mistakes.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Kirstin, for being here with us today. Well, this is the end of our show. And we thank you for being here. This is Edna White and my esteemed guest, Kirstin Carey, saying goodbye for now.
Thanks, Edna.